Dyer's Daily. So another chance to do something fairly topical, because I think it's something that's going to affect us from here on in. So the BBC and other news outlets recently announced that face masks and coverings are to be compulsory in England's shops from the 24th of July this year. So that isn't long, really, for people to get accustomed to the new rules and regulations and everything that's going. But at least they've done it ahead of time, like with everything else, rather than going right from tomorrow, so that everybody is clear. So according to the BBC, those who fail to comply with the new rules will face a fine of up to £100, according to the government. Wow. I mean, it all depends what people think of as wearing the mask, because I've heard of people sort of pulling it down on certain occasions and not wearing it in the correct place. How are they going to enforce these things? I'm just going to have to wait and see, as is everybody else. And what difference is it going to make at this point? And also, does it not feel a teensy little bit too late to be doing this? Surely we should have done this early on, because the idea is to reduce the infection rate, obviously. Now, if we wanted to do that, why didn't we do that early on? I don't know, and I wouldn't like to comment too much. But it says here that since mid-May, members of the public have been advised to wear coverings in enclosed public spaces where they may encounter people they would not usually meet. Yeah, of course. And, of course, mask wearing, as it says, has been compulsory on public transport in England and at NHS facilities across the UK since June the 15th. So, there's my question again, really. How has it taken this long for them to say, hey, why don't you also, in addition to being on public transport and encountering people in public spaces, why not wear it in shops as well, where it's essentially both the same thing, isn't it? Enclosed public spaces. Well, isn't the supermarket technically an enclosed public space? Or have I got it wrong? I'm not sure. And that's not me being like aggressive. I'm just questioning this thing. And I know that the government have been accused of getting things late on other subjects. I don't really want to comment on those. But really, I want to, now that I've just told you that, I want to ask you, are you comfortable about wearing face coverings of any kind in a public place? Not whether you agree with whether it's the right thing to do, but whether you personally, you put it on your face. Do you feel comfortable, or do you feel a sense of like claustrophobia or something there? Is it that opinion that you have of wearing a face covering? It's not necessarily, like I say, it's not necessarily about whether you agree with it, just whether you feel comfortable with it. And one thing I wonder as well is, will this apply to people who work in these places? I'm sure that it will. I'm sure. I will be looking at this story and wondering. I wonder as well whether it might change people's speech patterns, because I would imagine with a mask on, you'd have to talk quite loud and clearly, and I know some people struggle with that, but surely it would change things somewhat. I don't know. This is an ever-changing world, one which we're all having to navigate through, and I'm with everyone at this time. So yeah, let me draw it to a close. Thank you very much for listening to this edition of Dyer's Daily. Please remember to rate, comment and subscribe on your favourite podcast provider, and I'll see you on the next edition of the podcast. Yes, indeed. So thank you very much for listening, and bye-bye for now.